Welcome back, guys. Automotive Inc. here. So before we get started today, we are working on the '08 Duramax, and if you're looking for content for '08 to '10, and a lot of this will carry all the way up to 13, you're going to want to hit the subscribe button because this truck's going to stay with the channel for a little bit because, well, my oldest son decided that he wants to buy it, so it's going to be around for a long time, which is kind of crazy to think that this is an '08 with only 50,000 miles on it. So, but there are a few things that GM did in 2008 that were new to them and didn't hold up over time. So there's some things that need new parts in these older trucks. One being the power rear slider. So if you go up to the switch and you hit it and you can hear the motor running, that's a good thing, because more than likely it's just the window actuator regulator piece, which looks like some bicycle cables. And there was basically a design flaw where that would come apart and then the window no longer opens or closes. You might be thinking, well, Jeremy, I don't give a crap. I'm not going to fix an '08. I don't care about the power rear slider. And that's okay. You can just put a stick in there because, again, that's part of the security now because there's no latch. Again, a criminal can get in wherever they want, but because there's no latch and it relies on that system, if that's the side that's broken, and it typically is, then that window will just slide right open. So it could be just a security thing. Now, this is kind of a tedious task, and this will carry over if you have an extended cab and or a crew cab, and probably if you had a regular cab somehow that was like an LTZ that had this power window, you just have to take out the one seat. So it does require you to remove the seat just to access all the panels, and that is kind of a pain in the butt. But we're going to walk through today how to do it. It isn't all that bad. If you have an extra set of hands, that will be helpful. And this is literally, I think it's under $100 fix. I will put the link on there and the actual cost once I remember what it was. And we'll get to it. All right, for the most part, guys, you're going to need an 18 mil to remove the seat. You're going to have two bolts there. You're going to have two bolts where the two seats meet up. And again, you will have the two seats meeting up in that. Now, and you might be thinking, well, my '03 or '04 or '05 GM truck, the back of the seat flips down. Yes, but they also didn't have power sliders back then. So when they came to this type of series, they went to where this seat no longer comes down. And that stands true in most of the trucks today that they make. There's no panel to access it. The Ford still allows you to flip it down. But depending on where the panels are, you may still have to actually remove the seat. All right, guys, so there's an 18 mil there and an 18 millimeter bolt here. Now there are two 10 millimeter bolts that hold the two seats together. Because these seats are heavy, I removed those. But if you had an extra set of hands, you could leave those two hooked together. And then you're gonna have two more over here. So right now, it doesn't appear that I'm gonna need to really do anything crazy with the seat belts. I know in some of them they've had to remove them, but we're gonna remove the one bolt, or sorry, the nut over here, which is actually on the seat belt, and I'm just gonna thread that through the seat. Just remember when you put it back, just that actually doesn't hold down the seat, it holds down the seat belt system. To make sure you put it down so it's not twisted or flat, we don't wanna take away the ability of the seat belt itself. Go ahead and remove the jack just so it's out of your way, you're not tripping over it. I'm not going to really remove those if I don't need to. So right now I'm going to go over and I'm going to take that 18 out of there, and I've already got the 10s out of there. I'm leaving these two just kind of anchoring it so the seats can't come out. And then we'll remove the one big side first, and then we'll come back and remove the second side. Now if you can see it, guys, there is a little detent on this metal bracket for the seat belt that when we put it back together, that's what kind of lines you up there. You'll know that that's the top. However, if you're not paying attention, the tag goes up. You could twist it when you're putting it back to the seat. So like what I'm talking about is keep it straight as you can. And then you're gonna need the seat kind of bent to pull this through like that. And then we'll just set it up and over, because when the seat comes out, this will just fall down. Remember, when we put it back in, that's where we're gonna do it. No rhyme or reason, these two 18 nuts can stay there. Here are the two 10s. Again, they came out of those two holes right there. It is kind of a pain in the butt to get back there, so if you have a cordless drill or one of those small like 3/8 impact guns, you can use one of that. I bought this little set for my drill. off the Zahn, super cheap. I will put a link to that if you're interested in those. So now we got everything done. That bracket again just holds the seatbelt mechanism, so we should be good to lift it out. All right, so there's what this panel looks like out. There are 2 clips that when we put it back in on the back of the seat, there's steel clips to hold the back of that seat on. And again, that's why you can't pull and yank that down. If you somehow were able to, well, man, Hercules, that's definitely not the right way, but congratulations. This would be a good time we can clean this crap out too. Again, I'm all about cleaning stuff up while I'm back here. It's not overly dirty or anything like that, but we're gonna go over here and get this other seat out. Again, that seat probably weighed 75 pounds, so just be aware that that's what it's gonna weigh, and then we can let this fall back down here for now. All right, guys, so once we get to this side, again, we have 2 over here, 1 there and 1 there. We got all this vacuumed up. Shouldn't need to remove the seatbelt tethers. We can see here is where the cable is at. I'm gonna get my handy dandy upholstery tools that I say we always got to use on the interiors because I hate marring them up. I hate damaging them. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get those out. I'll put a link to those in there. I always put a link to all the tools I'm using, even if you've been to other ones, other of my videos and saw those links. Again, you don't have to go buy Snap-on or Matco or any of those, and I'm not knocking those, but you don't need them for just your everyday human in the garage turning wrenches. These are going to get the same amount of use, be just as usable, and when you lose them, you'll be just as sad, but you won't be as sad because you didn't spend quite as much money. So, yeah, we'll get the vacuum out here in a second, clean all this up, but we're going to get the panels removed first. So let me move this seat, which we lifted up and took off. Again, it goes into this bracket right here. And this seat probably only weighs about 35 pounds. We'll get this moved out of the way and get some upholstery tools out. So what I'm going to show you guys, which some other people won't show you, is exactly where you need to pry. So if we hold this panel up here, we can see that there's a lower one. So if you start the bottom and get this one loose, again, I like to use this tool, stick it underneath where you find it and pop it loose. Again, I'm showing you this because that way you're not just trying to fiddle around back there and trying to figure it out. The next 2, once you get the bottom loose, you can come in. It's about 1.5 inches and then 5 inches from this, where you can see the lower part, the flat part here. So that's where we're going to do it. You can see right here, here's our busted cable, our broken piece. That's junk. And then now we're going to go over and we're going to remove this other trim piece real quick. Right there, we'll do the same thing. I will start at one end here, and then I will show you where the points are. And again, most of the time, this is the first time since GM put this vehicle in service that these pieces have been removed. So that means they were probably in there good, and you don't want to over pry in a wrong area and create white spots. If I could find one, I would show you, but I don't think most of this truck's ever been taken apart. All right, guys. So I'm not going to remove these, but I did loosen those at least a little bit because they were so tight up against there that you couldn't get the panel off. This is going to be a Torx 50. Any variant of this will work. So if you have one that looks like an Allen wrench, that's fine. I'll put a link in the description. I bought those ones at Christmas. They're pretty good. So from here, there's this little seatbelt piece that you're going to pop up and out of here. That can just hang loose. And then we're going to continue pulling this off. All right, guys. So GM genuine part 259800205. So 259800205 is what it is. There are some repop, aftermarket ones of these. That's completely up to you how you want to handle that. Again, if I'm going to be in here, this is not a fun job. It's not a hard job. Even videoing it, it's only taken me about 15 minutes. I would say for somebody that doesn't have help, novice in the garage, it might take double, but still we're not talking too long. So we're going to get to that. So this one right here, one of these clips stayed in here, so you can fish that out with a pair of needle nose and a plier, put it back on this clip. But you're talking about 4 inches from the outside here, and then about every 6 inches all the way back. There is a little feeder point here, and then it doesn't need to come all the way off, so you can just pull it loose and let it hang. Okay, guys? Then once we come over here, there is a little clip. You will get a new clip in the kit. You're just gonna pry that up, it comes up, allows you access to the cable, which we can see goes over to the window. All right, so we're gonna go over and get the other one loose, and then we'll dig past and find the little actuator motor and everything like that here in a second. All right, so the other little clip that I showed you on the other side is right here, covering up this wire. And again, guys, keep in mind that if the cable's broke, and somebody wants to steal or jump through your, that's why you would want to replace this. If not, get a painter stick, stir stick, and drop it in the rail. I think that looks thin enough for something like that, and that way they wouldn't be able to open it. Obviously, they could break the window, but again, they're opportunists, so I would do it that way. All right, guys, so then what we're going to do is you're going to pull these little clips loose. There's a little clip underneath there that holds this cable. Once you get it done, you can tip it up. Don't try and push this. This is not the way it's going to work. It's kind of a swing in piece. So again, once you need to unconnect it here, then tilt it at the bottom and it pulls right out. Okay, so we can see that our awesome thing just is done here. Now, I have seen some people's videos where they say that they cannot get this behind there. Guys, there is just enough clearance to pull it up and push it down. So unless somebody's been fiddle farting around in here, that is GM's intent. I wouldn't run it on the other side of this, just because these parts are pretty weak. They're made out of plastic vinyl. So I would put it back the way they had it, get it clipped in, everything like that. So now we get this side out, we're gonna go to the other side. All right, so from here, guys, we're not prying on this piece. You're not trying to push this in. You're grabbing at the bottom, picking it up, twisting it up. Once it comes loose, you're gonna come over here to the window tray and pop it loose. So you can see we're missing that little knob on the other one, and this one looks like it's about ready to fall out. There is a clip here that your cable's gonna come out of. And then from here, we just remove the pad, which is right here. That was right here. We're gonna pull this down, and then it's pretty simple. There's one nut that holds it in there, and then a clip. So this is a 10 mil. So from here, guys, you can go ahead and turn the accessory on. Just make sure your motor is not bad. It is good to go. It is spinning awesome. So now we're gonna get ready to put the new kit in, which, like I said, it came with all new parts. It is designed better. It has more robust pieces on it. So yeah, we're gonna get this put in. All right, so one thing I want to tell you too, guys, leave that little yellow clip on. So there's your 10mm bolt hole. If you take this off, it's gonna screw up everything. So trust me, just leave it on there. If you ever get a part like that from GM, you're like, I need to bolt. I need to put a bolt through that hole or screw. There's a reason why that little piece is on there. What that does is it takes the tension off the cables so you can pull them a little bit one way or another. So we're gonna go over on the driver's side where you're going to sink the little knob down in the hole. And guys, what I did before is I got the vacuum out, got a little paintbrush, cleaned out this groove. You guys can do whatever you want. You don't have to clean it up. But that little groove that it travels on, I even spray some dry silicone in there after you vacuum it up. But get the moths out of there, get the dirt out of there, whatnot. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. But keeping in mind that this cable is going to run through all of that crap if there's a lot of it in there, and it could shorten the life of it again. So from here, guys, again, we're going to just tip it up and then down. And then from here, we're going to pull it down through this. So again, if GM puts it behind there, that's where it needs to be. So I know I've seen some people on other videos say, well, it won't go behind there. Yes, it will. If you need to put a little bit of tension on it, you can. See how it gives just a little bit. You don't need much, guys. Watch. I'm pushing this down with my fingers, okay? So anybody that's like, oh, it's not going to fit back underneath there, it will. It will. It's frustrating that they made the tolerances so tight, but it is what it is. So come into here, use your little upholstery tool to push this in. You can do it with your fingers, but it's a pincher. So we're going to go all the way down this thing, just feeding it through these little lock-in pieces here, so you can see them all. Now we're going to go on the other side and pull in that piece. All right, now that we got this snapped in all of these grooves right here, we come over and get the passenger side one, push it straight down in there, pull it back, and again from here, because there's tension on this, the springs, watch, you can easily move it back till it's just right. If you undo those things, that spool's gonna come undone inside there and it's gonna be a mess. All right, so from there, again, tilt it down, latch it in. This comes with a new piece. Again, we're all good there, we're good there. And what'll happen is once the cable gets situated here, so now from here, we're gonna go ahead and push it onto there. There's a little piece right down here that's gonna go behind this, and then we'll get our 10 mil in. All right, once we get it all in there, guys, then that little clip's just gonna pop right off. And if you go back to the beginning of the video when these were sprung up to here, these little yellow knots, I don't know if these are basically to show GM or the person, the user, that these are bad. These are no longer tight. They should be tight down here. These are what's keeping tension on the cables within the window. So if you take that off and they go, then something's wrong with the spool down here. You might as well stop right there, take it off, and look at the back side of it. We're going to tighten this 10 mil up. Again, it's plastic, so you do not need to over tighten it. And again, you're going to make sure this is tight here. After that, we replace the foam block that we took out. And then from here, this will just kind of just shove back in here, guys. And really, that's going to be it there. We're good here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'll reverse the steps, show you guys, because I do need to pull one of the attachment pieces out and clip it back to the plastic. I'm going to go ahead and clean this area up, guys. All this dog hair and stuff. I didn't have a dog in here, but at some point the owners did. And this is an area where, I mean, look at this. Ugh. Let's just get it all cleaned up. Again, if you're going to be back here working it, making it work like new, let's also make it look like new if we can. But we will blast through the reinstall here in just a second once I get it all cleaned up. So again, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save you some headache. This goes over this, okay? So if you start popping it in and you got one of these behind there, or it seems like it's not wanting to go in, don't force it. This needs to be through the groove, so just save yourself some headache there. All right, so we got this whole side snapped in. This also, guys, is a pain in the butt to wash your window. So this is a good opportunity to wash the window before we put the seat back in, when it's really hard to get behind it. Trust me, there's not a lot of fingerprints here after 13 years, so if you clean it now, you'll probably be good for a long time. All right, guys, so the kit does come with these new caps, and what you'll do is the long one goes on the driver's side, and you'll see this little cutout, almost looks like the windshield. So once you get that in there, you're just going to, it needs to go between the cable and actual housing, so you'll get it lined up. Then this one, you can snap it on with this trim piece over it. It just literally just sits over the top and snaps down. All right, so that side's on. Let's go over the other side, finish wiping it down, finish washing the window, and then we'll get some more pieces on. So this side we'll still just do naked. So basically this this little piece, if you will, right here, and you can put it on with the trim on it or not. And all that's going to do is just snap down right there. That just protects the little wheel and makes it look a little bit nicer. Then we come over here and we have the same clip, and this one goes right here. So you'll see that there's a little cutout because of this little pinch. We'll get that on. All right, so last trim piece, we got it all cleaned up. There's just some like goo on it. So this little tab right here is going to go into this little hole. All right, from here we're using our Torx bit. We're gonna get these in there. These have a little lip that goes in the back of the cab. So line them up, make sure they're straight up and down. It'd drive me kind of nuts if they weren't. Again, got this side of the window all cleaned up, because man, that's the nicest and easiest I've ever cleaned a back window in an extended cab or you know, pickup with a crew, just because. So that's done, that's done. I'm gonna head over there and hit that with our Torx. And then we're going to keep on reversing this procedure. And then I'm going to get the vacuum out and I'm going to get all this nasty dog hair out of here because I don't like it. And make it look good and sexy in here. All right, guys, got this all cleaned up. This goes up and snaps into there. Got everything cleaned up, everything vacuumed. It's in good, clean order back here. And what we'll do now is I want to clean up the seats also. They got... the base of them is just kind of grody and dirt and whatnot. I'm going to go ahead and clean up all of this. And then again, I'm going to wipe down the back of the seat because the back of the seat's probably never going to see daylight again, because I don't think this part will break again. And get all the dog hair off, and then we'll get the seats back in, and we will start on the small side for that. All right, guys, so when you put it back, remember there's a hook on the back that needs to go into those white little braces. It's going to take some finesse to get around here, get your bracket lined up, get these lined back up, and then I would get the nuts and bolts started, and especially this one down here, this bolt that goes down into this hole. Get it started, and then get the other seat in here so you can line up those two before you tighten them all the way down. And that way it'll give you a real nice, you know, connection and everything like that. Now, if you're ever driving down the road, guys, and you hear a thunking in the seat, check your jack. If you don't have one, then it couldn't be that. But a lot of times, if people have used these once, they don't get in there tighten, and that'll need to be in that brace tighten along with the little wheel chocks. So I'm gonna work on getting the other seat cleaned up, and then we'll get it in here. All right, we're gonna put that seat belt up and out of the way, because when we come in, that has to go over the seat and then down to the crack. Again, you can see how nice I got it all cleaned up in here. Same thing with the seat. Again, this will probably never need to come back off. So that's why we're spending the time getting it all cleaned up, so we have a good foundation for it to go back on. And hey, this truck was gonna be for me, and I was gonna sell it. I want it to be nice and clean. Now I know my boy's gonna get it. We're gonna make sure it's 100% right beyond all measure, and then we'll go from there. All right, so now that I got that side in here, remember, this is how it needs to look. We're just gonna drop it straight down the seat. Should fall in the hole. And we're gonna really make sense that we keep it like that. Keep it nice and flat with the label up. Once you get it done, remember I said it had that little detent. I'm gonna get my fat finger out of the way. Have the detent right here. That goes right there, guys. And that's when you know you're on there. We can start the two over here. We're gonna start this one, but we're gonna get our 2 tins in there. All right, once we get our 2 tins in there, let's get the light over here. All right, that's gonna be those 2 black guys right there. It's easier to reach it with an impact tool. You might be twisting for a little bit. I get those lined up good, because then it kind of sets up, that seat goes together right there with each other. And then there's only the 2 bolts right there. My fat finger's in the way again. It's gonna be this one. We have this one, which lined up just fine, and then this one. Now we got this one started. Let's just look down here and make sure we got it up, and this is on the outside, and that is up. Okay, guys, then you know that you're golden. And if I might say, guys, if you're gonna fold your seat up, this must have happened during the last owner. If there's something that's gonna rub, make sure it's out of the seat. Because that's since rubbed a hole in that. That's not for me, but it does suck. All right, so I'm gonna get these tightened down. All right, guys, now if we did it all right. Ooh la la. And you don't need to keep holding the button once you do get it done, you know, once it's open or closed. But I do like the rear slider. It's poor initial design by GM. But after that, guys, we're back in business. Everything's torqued down, everything's good to go. And that is how you install a actuator cable assembly for the actual rear slider. And it is hotter than heck out here today. But I do appreciate you guys being here. And if you came this far, please hit the subscribe and like button. That helps the channel out quite a bit. And we have a ton more content coming up on the 08. We have a lot of cool towing coming up here in a few weeks. And I think that's going to be just a blast. So this fix will cover you no matter if you have a crew cab or an extended cab. If you have a crew cab, you're just going to have a couple extra bolts in the back. There's going to be an extra set of bolts probably right where the 2 seats are meeting. Other than that, guys, it should be pretty easy. So we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.